And continuing our review series of my top 10 favorite movies of different genres in my collection, today we are going ahead with superhero movies. Alright, so I am bringing you my top 10 favorite superhero movies in my movie collection, and this one was by far the hardest one so far to pick out because I had to leave so many great movies off the list. I own probably every DCU movie, every MCU movie, every Batman movie, so there was a lot of great stuff that had to be left off. If you guys have never seen one of these videos before, this is my third one I am doing. I have two others on this channel you guys can check out. If you have not seen those and you want to find them, I will probably put together a playlist, so just search that playlist on my channel and you will find them there. I'll call it like top 10 of each genre in my collection, nothing like that, but you know, search it up, you'll find it. I'll figure out what I want to call it later on. But getting into this one, I ended up with a list of about 25 movies when I was trying to go through this. I narrowed it down to 13, so I got a few honorable mentions here. But we're going to start with number 10, work our way through. Eventually I'll get around to honorable mentions, and then we'll get to my top 3. But let's get into this. This will be a very casual video for me, just talking to you guys about this stuff. So, like I said, this one sucked to make because I had to leave off a lot of great films, but let's get into it. Coming at number 10, we have Deadpool. This is the original. I love both of them. They were both in my list of like 25 movies that I compiled together. However, I only kept this one on after going through that. And yeah, I love this film. I love the second one too, but this one is by far the superior one. At number 9, we have a movie that people probably wouldn't think about because everyone goes to MCU and DCU, but this has always been one of my favorites, and that is Kick-Ass. This movie is so funny and so much fun, and honestly, the second one is just as fun too. Not as much as this, obviously, because it's not on this list, but this movie is awesome. If you haven't seen Kick-Ass, check it out. I wouldn't say it's under the radar in terms of movies, but when everyone goes to watch superhero movies, no one watches this, so. Coming in next at number 8, we have the original Spider-Man MCU movie, and that is Spider-Man Homecoming. This movie was such a pleasant surprise in theaters. I wasn't sure how the MCU would tackle Spider-Man, if they would do him justice, or if they would put their own MCU formulaic spin on him. But this movie is incredible. The Vulture is an incredible villain. Probably one of my favorite Spider-Man movie villains behind like Goblin and Doc Ock. Incredible. And that scene with Vulture and Spider-Man in the car is so freaking awesome. The way you feel so anxious watching that, you just feel the pain that he's feeling right now. Great film, highly recommended. Alright, we got 10, 9, 8. Number 7 in my top 10 favorite superhero movies in my collection. And this is the original Marvel Avengers. I could watch this movie every single day. I love it that much. I actually had all 4 in my top 25 when I was putting together this list. I couldn't keep them all on, sadly. My most watched is probably Age of Ultron, even though it's probably my least favorite. Something about it's just like a comfort movie to put on and fall asleep to. But this one, where it all started, is by far a top 10 superhero movie for me. I love it so much. And coming at number 6 is a very recent one, and I don't have a lot of recency bias. If you've seen my reviews, you know that. And honestly, if I don't have nostalgia for a movie, it doesn't always hit with me. But this one made its way up into number 6 after only coming out 1 year ago. And that is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This movie is crazy good. And if anyone asks me what was a perfect movie that came out in recent years, I have 2 answers. Everything Everywhere All at Once and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Both those movies have no flaws. This movie is perfection at its finest. Highly recommended, even though I'm sure all of you have seen it. Next up at number 5, and it looks like we're about to switch from Spider-Man to Avengers here because we have Infinity War. If you can't tell, I love the MCU and I love Spider-Man. Those are some of my favorites, and it's really showing on this list. This is the culmination of everything the MCU was building up to. Yes, Endgame was the actual culmination, the actual end of it all. But this movie, when they're all on screen together, and it's the introduction as Thanos as the big bad. I know he's been in the MCU before, but this is really his standout as the big bad. What an incredible movie. This is, in my opinion, the best Avengers movie, and it perfectly rounds out those 33 films that we got in the Infinity Saga. Next up at number 4, and like I said, bouncing from Spider-Man to Avengers, you can clearly see what I'm into. We have Spider-Man No Way Home. This is my favorite Spider-Man movie. Yes, I think Spider-Verse, or Across the Spider-Verse may be a better film, but I love this one so much. I went opening night, and nothing will ever take away that theater experience I had. People were screaming in the theater like it was a concert. And usually when people talk in movies, it annoys me. I hate when people go on their phones. I hate when people are talking in the theater. But when people were screaming for Toby and Andrew, I just felt the energy. It was so much fun. And I wish I could go back to that opening night and rewatch in that theater. I have never felt a theater that alive. Alright, so those were numbers 10 through 4. Before I get into my top 3, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys my honorable mentions. And if you guys have seen that I love the MCU and I love Spider-Man, my third favorite love when it comes to comic book superhero movies is Batman. And I'm going to show him some love right here, even though he did not make the top 10. And first off, we have Batman Begins. And yes, I own the entire Nolan trilogy, and I don't care if you guys think Dark Knight is the greatest movie ever created. This is my favorite movie in that trilogy. It always will be, and it always will be, and nothing will change that. Sorry, hate me if you want. This is my favorite Batman Nolan movie. Next up, for honorable mentions, we continue with the Batman theme, and we have Batman Returns. And I think I'm in the majority when I say it, this is my favorite movie from the 80s, 90s Batman series of the 4. I do also love Batman 1989 with Jack Nicholson Joker. These two movies were a big part of my childhood, and I even get some enjoyment out of Batman Forever with Jim Carrey's Riddler. Now when it comes to Batman and Robin, I agree with you guys, that movie sucks, but I can't lie, I'll still throw it on every once in a while and watch Arnold's Mr. Freeze because at least he's entertaining in the film. But out of all these 4, this is my favorite one. I love Danny DeVito's Penguin in this movie. He is an awesome villain, and this is where Michael Keaton is at the top of his game as Batman. This movie is fantastic. And to round out my honorable mentions, I'm going to give you guys 3, like I said, because I was able to narrow that 25 list down to 13. It was heartbreaking to do so, but I had to do it. And we are back at Spider-Man with Spider-Man 2, the best movie in the Tobey Maguire trilogy. I think Doc Ock is the best villain in those movies. I think Green Goblin might have passed him up for me now that he was in No Way Home and just killed it in that movie. But Doc Ock was the best villain. I like how down to earth he was and how he was a pure of heart man just taken over by that suit. I like all the trials and tribulations that Tobey has to go through as Spider-Man in this film. This is a top-of-the-line Spider-Man film. Alright, getting into my top 3, and if any of you know me, you already know what my top 3 is. Actually, I would call it a top 4, but spoiler alert, I don't own the third one in this series yet because it came out so recently and I haven't been able to pick it up. But getting into number 3, we have Guardians of the Galaxy. And when I tell you that this trilogy is the most important trilogy in my life, I am not kidding to you. This trilogy helped shape my love for movies, helped shape my love for music. It really built a big part of my personality, and I love James Gunn for that. Even when it comes to the Suicide Squad, which is a far superior movie to the original, James Gunn has me hook and reel in all these movies, and with him taking over the DCU, I could not be more excited. I will be there opening night for every single DC movie just because of his takeover. Coming in next, we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And Volume 3 would be up there with this one if I owned it, but sadly I do not, so just putting that out there. And this movie, while most people, they have it as their least favorite Guardians movie, to me, 2 and 3 are top tier together and 1 is a little bit below it. I know that's crazy, but hear me out. The emotional notes with this movie, with Yondu and the Ravagers and all those scenes, are so well put together and they mean so much to me. I love the soundtrack in this one as well as the soundtrack in the first one, and everything about this one just feels a little bit better. The team is more combined. They are now a family and they are working together, and I will never in a million years understand the hate for Volume 2. It is my second favorite superhero movie of all time. A little sidebar here before we get to number 1. I was debating on including this movie. If I did include it, it'd probably be in my top 3 or top 5 of all time for superhero movies. And If I did include it, it would for sure be included in a comic book movie ranking. But because we said superhero movies, I wasn't sure if that would be like blasphemy to put in here since these guys are not heroes. I felt the same way about Joker. I completely decided against that one. But I figured I'd still show this one off because, like I said, comic book movies, this is top 5 for me, for sure. And that is another James Gunn film in The Suicide Squad. This is the second one, or the remake. This movie deserves to be on my list. I only left it off because the guys, the characters in this movie, they're not superheroes. They are villains who create this Suicide Squad team. But because of how much I love this movie and how much it meant to me when it came out, I will include it here as the sort of honorable mention. But finally, my number 1 favorite superhero movie of all time. And the reason why I was so upset last year when the sequel to it was so bad, Thor Ragnarok. When this movie came out and I saw it, my love for Thor went through the roof. He went from being one of my least favorite Avengers to probably my favorite. I don't know, you gotta throw him up there with Iron Man. Those two are 1A and 1B for me. This movie is incredible. I could seriously watch this movie every day. This is my favorite MCU movie. This is my favorite superhero movie. And after its release, I was fully on board the Taika Waititi train. I was ready to watch anything he put out. And then he made Love and Thunder, and that love kind of went away. I don't know how you go from this to that, but he did. But with all that aside, being positive, it's a top 10. This is my favorite superhero movie of all time. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like on this video and comment below your top 10 favorite superhero movies of all time. Give me your top 20, your top 25, your top 5, whatever you're feeling. I want to know. I want to converse with you. I want to talk to you about it. I love talking to you guys. It makes me so happy to be able to have conversations with my subscribers and others on YouTube. And on that note, make sure to subscribe to my channel. It helps out so much. We keep growing and growing, and I can't wait to grow even more. Thank you all, and have a great day.